And this is the story about aid going to Gaza. And what the situation is. Yeah, I know we're going to have to, people, Chewy will explode. I'm just giving you a warning. You might want to take a half step back from the screen right now. Let's have a look.
The Prime Minister has confirmed New Zealand is among countries considering whether to cut funding to a United Nations aid organisation after accusations some of its staff were involved in the October 7 Hamas attacks on Israel.
The agency is the major provider of food and support in Gaza. There are concerns if funding dries up, people will starve. Political reporter Amelia Wade has more.
Gaza is on the brink of famine. Its people are starving. A United Nations agency is the main source of food, but its funding is under threat.
Did you notice that T-shirt or that sweatshirt on that kid? No dreams, no future. That's pretty. That's pretty
on
apt.
the nose.
Yeah.
Nations agency is the main source of food, but its funding is under threat.
The allegations are incredibly serious. It's important that they are properly understood.
The United Nations Relief Agency for Palestine Refugees, known as UNRWA, has been rocked by allegations from the Israelis that 12 of its 13,000 staff were part of the October 7 Hamas attacks. No evidence has yet substantiated the claims.
Well, you mean some rotten apples inside an organisation? That's quite possible.
The UN has fired the workers and ordered an investigation, but at least 50...
That was interesting from Winston, because that sounded like, well, of course there's going to be some rotten apples in every organisation. He seemed to play that down quite a lot. Maybe that was earlier in the day, because things seem to have escalated since that. I mean, that's how I heard him saying it. He was kind of like, well, you know, rotten apples, you get that.
I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah.
15 countries, including the United States, which is its biggest donor, and the EU, have frozen their funding. Aotearoa makes an annual contribution. The next payment is due in June. Now that's being reviewed ahead of a decision in March.
We won't be making any further contributions until the Foreign Minister is good to go.
The head of UNRWA has begged countries not to freeze their funding, saying it would be immensely irresponsible to sanction an agency and an entire community it serves because of allegations of criminal acts against some individuals, especially at a time of war, displacement and political crises in the region.
I really cannot rationalise how countries can cut funding to the major delivery agency to starving and sick Palestinians in Gaza.
I appreciate that, but we're the government, and they're serious allegations. They need to be understood and investigated. And when the Foreign Minister says that he's done that and he's happy for us to contribute.
So that's Winston Peters. That's the other thing about this is Winston Peters. Now, there have been some questions to Mr. Luxon in the last couple of days. One reporter asked him if the reason he made David Seymour the minister in charge of treaty relations and renegotiations and stuff was because he wanted to wipe his hands of it. That was at the stand-up that is at right now. And one wonders also is because he's basically saying, well, you know, Winston Peters, he didn't use Winston Peters' name, but I wonder if once again he's trying to be like, you know, I'm the CEO and that's the manager's responsibility, not ultimately mine.
Yeah,
Just was thinking about what he was doing there, which is really interesting fantastic to hear Professor Mutu saying, ultimately, dude, you're the man. You take them all. Remember, we've been saying this since last year. I think Bomber was the first to say it. If you open that door, you are responsible for everything that breaks. That goes for you, Mr. Luxon. You opened this door, bringing these people in. You are responsible for everything they break.
That Foreign Minister rejects that funding has been suspended.
Nobody has suspended the funding for UNRWA in New Zealand's case.
Winston Peters says he knows how important the funding is to those whose lives depend on it.
13,000 people in Gaza, and humanitarian need and desperation is important. And that's why I'm taking the time to find out.
And while politicians take time, little mouths wait for the little food they can get. Amelia Wade, News Hub.
So there you go, Chewy. You know, credit where credit's due. Mr. Peters here sounded quite balanced in that situation. I watched another report.
Like a crotchety old man.
Oh yeah, like a. What are you asking me a question for? Because I'm a reporter, sir. Puff. Stop asking me questions, reporter. I watched another article, maybe from CNN, and they made it very clear to say still that the 12 are still accusations. They're still waiting for evidence. I'm not saying that because it hasn't happened, but that's not actually been proven yet. It's not actually a done deal. It's an accusation from Israel. And just the accusation from Israel has caused the world to go, whoop, we're stopping. I don't say that as well to say that it's not serious, right? But surely the pragmatic thing to do would be to say, well, we will continue to fund you whilst the investigation goes on, but if it's deemed that's the case, you're at risk of losing your funding. That would be the pragmatic thing to do. But yeah, it's been a particularly interesting response, Chewie.
If it's 12 out of 13,000 workers, it does not matter. The job is they're delivering food. And like the start of that story said, there's people at risk of starving. They're starving now. They will just starve at a faster rate.
Yeah.
The idea of these countries just like where have these accusations come from? I assume from Israel. So
yeah,
rather than wait for an investigation or proof, and again, a proportional response to that. Okay, Israel said that these guys participated. Is that proven? Where's the evidence? Let's have a look at it and we'll think about it. We're not stopping funding now because that's an insane thing to do.
Yeah.
And then we'll come up with a proportionate and just response to that. To absolutely condemn a refugee relief program run by the UN to stop that funding instantly because 12 people may have done something. And even if they did, does that take away from the good that organization is doing and the very immediate need for that organization to keep doing the work? As a New Zealander, when I saw that story come out, I was ashamed. I was ashamed that this is the position that we're coming at. From watching the clip that we played, oh, cool. We don't have to contribute to this organization until June. Maybe the decision should be that we need to up our support. Maybe as a food producer, we need to do more. Maybe as a country that has a reputation for justice and for standing up against things in this world that are wrong, we need to do more rather than what Mr. CEO, I don't know, man, off to the foreign minister. I've never made a decision in my fucking life.
Yeah.
Be a leader.
I wonder.
Look at this. Just, like these countries and potentially us are so quick to make a decision to come down on these people where the literal sky is falling on them already, but will take months and months and months and months to do something contrary to what the US is doing.
Yeah.
It's shameful.
It's also, you think about the obvious, Israel saying that they want this UNRWA, I think that's what it's called, to be gone and to be serviced by other people. But who? Who's in the region to do it? So let's just play this game. I used to do this in Talkback a lot. People would come up with an idea and I'd go, okay, let's follow it to its nth degree. Okay, so let's say they've just lost all their funding. Then what? There's no more groups in there doing what they were doing. So that's going to take months to organize. So maybe it's just actually also partly a tactic by Israel because it's going to help them finish the job more quickly because there's going to be fewer people in there helping the starving, displaced people with it. And the other thing I thought was 12 out of 3,000. Sure, let's say that's happened. Disgusting, horrible. How many Israeli soldiers, I wonder, have committed war crimes or are in breach of humanitarian rules and laws? I just wonder. It's not an accusation that I know, because if it happened to be 10, 20, 50 of them, is everyone going to stop their funding immediately to Israel? Will America immediately stop their funding to Israel? Because that's what they've done for this.